right, peace. Welcome to Visual Caffeine. Yo, listen, we got a very hot episode this time around. I'm telling you, you ever been to a homecoming? Because we got a homecoming. In the building, we got SCIENZ of Life. SCIENZ of Life, y'all. Yo, it's going to be crazy. My man ID, my man Lil Sai, they're going to tell us about what they do and what they got new, all right? So check it out.
Whenever we picking up mics, it's like. Whenever we blowing up shows, it's like. Whenever we taking control of our destiny, taking hip hop to next degree.
Yo, what was he saying, yo? I said this ain't jazz, this is blues music. Walking your path is your purpose, cause you choose it. There's no easy steps to greatness, you gotta show and prove it. The obstacles of the test, you gotta move through it. Science more than just a group, yo, it's a movement.
All right, we're here with, well, let me say it like this. If you've ever been to a homecoming, you all know that it's exciting, it's a lot of fun. It's just a spirit and energy. We have a homecoming right now. Right at this very moment, something very exciting, something that I'm excited about, something I'm honored to do as far as this interview is concerned. But y'all know who these brothers are. We got SCIENZ for Life, SCIENZ of Life in the building, y'all.
Peace.
Right.
What up?
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this new project. Change Your Views. What's
Set it off.
Change Your Views, new project. Really, it was us speaking to the times, us also speaking to ourselves, because, as creatives in this way, especially like when you're sharing these messages, some of them are direct, but some of them are channeled, man. This gift is ancestral. So it's important to like hear your own messages and eat your own food, right? So I feel like Change Your Views was us speaking on how we're changing our views, things like at one point loving being in the city and the city life and the metro, and now changing our views to being more in the outskirts, low key, quiet, peace, and just getting back to that different level of creativity and different level of focus, changing our views on just how we see the world and what we feel like we need to be doing daily. Things like we were talking off record, things like, becoming more financial literate, learning how to make your money work for you and stop always chasing and working for money. Change our mindset from being on the grind to never needing to grind, because the money's working for us and we have what we need, and channeling abundance, I'll let ID add on, but changing our own views.
To add on to that, if you are a SCIENZ of Life fan or of the music, we always had information and we stayed making people aware, as well as ourselves aware of what's to come, what we're dealing with now and where we're going. This particular project, like Sai was saying, we were dealing with the right now, as far as like, financially being literate, firearms education, how to grow food, paying more attention, like Sai said, from being in the city and glorifying the buildings and the concrete jungle, and realizing not too long ago, it's not dope to really be in the city. We need grass, we need land. How are we going to grow food in the projects? There's no room. There's no sun coming in the building. So we need to get back to the country. And if you pay attention, the corporations are buying up the country land and trying to grow our food, and what's in that food. And they're trying to move us to the city, making the city all glamorous and trying to get you in the city and draw you there to get you away from your natural habitats. So, we focusing on a lot of different subjects crammed in this 7-song project, like Sai said before, we literally dipped our toe in the water to see if it was warm with the whole project. Beats pretty much was, taking it back to where we started, but modernizing, keeping that galactic sound, you know what I'm saying? And, making sure we speak to our tribe, find out who our tribe is, those who are alike, and bonding with them and bringing them along the journey with us. So pretty much that's what the project overall is dealing with.
The born identity want my chemistry. Yeah. It's elementary, they armed and deadly. Yeah. This weird let me dog verse the red demon. Law bringing it hardcore, the rest sleeping. Conscious in the street game, it's all defense. Part of me, the elite team, it's all season.
Something just came to mind as y'all speaking, and ID, you speaking, mostly as far as the project is concerned. 7, is there something intentional about 7 tracks for this particular work?
Yeah, I'll say for that perspective, for me, it was not to do it long intentionally for replay value. I noticed in consuming projects like, the couple of, or the few Black Thought solo albums, very short, 5 to 7 songs, but they were done in a way, by the time you listen and realize, put your head up, you're like, wow, I let that run like 3 times over already.
Right. And
that was that same level of like, get the replay value, but then also being modest, right? Not being superficial in the sense of saying, yo, we all ain't heard us in a while, but we're going to give you 15 joints, listen to them all. It was like, no, let's give them just enough to consume. And really, this was aimed very much at the DJs too, to start to regenerate that support from DJs who've been playing our music really all over. And I feel like that's where we were aiming this at, to kind of amplify that to our people. And that was the, method of finding our tribe. And I feel like it's working well. We've been getting a lot of just spins here in the US, but definitely shout out to DJs in Australia, DJs in the UK, Germany, France, and other places overseas that just been supporting and kind of keeping things in rotation. And we've been doing a lot of this too, a lot of these virtual interviews, and just kind of being able to speak to our story directly,
Definitely.
Indeed.
But
so, just to add on, it wasn't like 7 songs was like some old, let's do 7 because that's the 7th letter of the alphabet. That's God. Nah, it wasn't that. But
that's what I was alluding to. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's kind of like, you would probably assume that. So that's not what it was, but I must say, we only recorded 7 songs. So a bunch of artists usually record 30, pick the best 7 or 50 or 10 or whatever, but we recorded 7 songs and that was it. You know
what? Shout out to Master Ace, right? I remember seeing an interview with Master Ace, and he said, you know what? Like, when I'm making my albums, I don't got to record 30 or 60 or 50 records. He said, I feel like if I got to record that many to create just one album of like 12 to 15 songs, then I don't really think I know what I'm doing. And when he said that, it was like so OG level, but it spoke to me because I feel like that. I feel like you reach a certain point where, just trust your vibe and creativity. And of course, if it doesn't pass your own tests, it doesn't go further than that. But
that's right.
It does. And then what we normally start doing now is playing it for our network, people who are close by, just passing it around just to get some direct feedback initially before the record comes out. And, it was passing those tests. Check. Okay, dope. So we felt good about it. So yeah, it was really not a need to, go all the way in, but I'll say what it did do is gave us energy to now go back in and create more, you know.
Definitely.
Momentum and motivation of the responses.
But what I appreciate about the project is the opening.
Nice.
Blues is a weapon. Y'all come out the gate like bang. You know, it's hard. It's nasty. This is really nasty. And the title alone is just like, whoa, very provocative.
You wanna change things, but things won't change. You wanna think distance, baby, better think long range. Strange things, strange things, strange names in time. It'll be my last breath if I just can't rhyme. And even if I can't rhyme, then it still must shine. The divine power of mine, exercise of my mind.
Could y'all speak a little bit more about the idea of weaponizing art?
Yeah. I feel it's happening right now, right? You're in New York City. They're talking about this drill music, and you know, basically they're in a lot of ways they're weaponizing drill music instead of focusing on the issues that even gets it to a point where there needs to be drill music. There needs to be young people using music in this communication, you know, to kind of destroy each other. You know, and it's like there's steps that led to that. So we feel, you know, our music has been weaponized. Our blues is weaponized, meaning our pain a lot of times is used against us. I guess the best way I could describe it is, you know, basically we're given all of the tools of destruction and then all of the scenarios that would lead you to those tools to survive with, and then blamed for being, you know, basically the savage or the murderer or the criminal. You know what I'm saying? And that's a part of it, but this is the flip side. You know, Science of Life, we represent life. We represent vision, empowerment, right? So the flip side is blues is a weapon. Yo, let's get back to using this music to basically cut these wax circuits off and channel in, but not just channel into the people who know, channel into the people who don't know. You know what I'm saying? That's why you're gonna hear motherfuckers and certain words in the rhymes now. Back in the day, Science of Life, there was literally 2 curses probably on a whole album. You know
that's right.
We recognize too, frequency wise, that's the balance of the brothers here. It's like frequency wise, some people need to hear that to channel in just because of where they are and where they vibrate on the frequency. They need to hear motherfucker in some sort of that type of dynamic to pull them in and say, oh, word, that's what he talking about. And now you're in. You know what I'm saying? So it's like all of these little things are definitely intentional, and we're just glad to be received well, but even more so glad to be creating again together and excited about it, you know, like in this way. Because not to say we've ever stopped creating together, but we stopped creating together this closely on our projects together. It was like on each other's music, producing, etc. So this is really dope.
Just to piggyback on that, you know, as far as our people, depending on which career you take, it comes with a platform. If you take it to that level where you get a platform, whether you're an actor or whatever, and you choose whether you go along with what's going on or you use your platform as a weapon. So I know personally, I'm not an actor. I'm not in Hollywood. I'm not on TV every day. I'm not on the news. I'm not in the NBA or NFL. So what we do is, instead of having fun and rapping about BS, we choose to use it as a weapon. The weapon would be going towards the oppressors. They don't want to hear what Science of Life is putting out, because if people take this music in and start pushing that other music aside, not that it's dope, but it's not doing what hip hop is about. Hip was to know, the knowing of information, and while you're doing it, you're hopping. Right now we have 0 hip, a lot of hop. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
Just to add on, we using this platform for what it's worth.
I bring it every time, baby. I drop science on the instrumental. What? I bring it every time, baby.
I'm bringing it.
I bring it every time, baby. I drop science on the instrumental. What?
Chemistry and balance is a challenge at times, but really through the gospel, more violence and rhymes around the world. Massive props for these stallion designs, floats of water. We got gallons of lines. It's for the mind, yo.
A lot more fire to pop off. Tracks in the locked door, beats get knocked off. Soul food, chops, and hot sauce served on the tables. DJs ablaze you.
From brother to brother, we rock, we roll. It's out of control, soul to soul. The way that we move, you're feeling the grooves from your head to your shoulders, soul to soul.
It seems to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but just listening to it seems like, oh, you guys is offering a blueprint for prosperity. You know what I'm saying? Just speak a little bit more as far as, and you kind of touched on it, ID. Both of you guys have actually touched on it, but speak a little bit more as far as prosperity. Us as a community, not only being competitors in the world market, but also being contributors, right? And having our communities prosper more.
Yeah. I'll say like my verse specifically was coming from the perspective of Powernomics, Dr. Claude Anderson, and just this perspective of, excuse me, we could do all these other things, but if we don't have true economic empowerment for real, then it's like we can't really make the moves that we want to make. We can't really maneuver and actually navigate these spaces in this unified way because we don't have the resources to do so. So it's like, how do we empower ourselves economically? Learn about it, learn about how money works, but even more so, start supporting each other. You know, I've learned that a lot of the different setups in Black prosperity and here in America, the different Black Wall Streets, quote unquote, around the country, right? They don't tell us this, but this was, when you look it up, these were towns where the Black dollar, because that's the only thing you could do, circulated for like over a year.
Yeah.
Literally, you know, it can't even circulate for like a few days nowadays.
Right.
You know? And it's circulated in the community for like 13 to 15 months, bro. You know, so it's like, we need to get back to that. But let's be real, right? To even get back to that, we need time to even plan for that type of empowerment. But we're fighting off everything else. We never have time to just unify together and actually plan for empowerment. So we got to innovate spaces and be able to figure out how do we navigate all this else that's going on, but still figure out a space and time to plan, you know?
And trading our labor.
What ID was saying in his verse, I'll let you expound, but these are the real things present time. If you're not thinking like this, it's like, do you really want to survive? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So pretty much like, you know, a summary of my verse, I feel like I'm speaking to a lot of my family and a lot of people that I see on social media and people that's not on social media, just the tone of the country now. And when I look at our people, I'm wondering, how do you have enough time to have to go party? How you setting up tattoo parties and going out and, oh, I can't wait to go to Jamaica. How are you doing that? Do you have enough water? Do you have at least 2 months of food? You know, like food that doesn't perish, canned goods. Are you paying attention to the water supply? Are you paying attention to the food shortage? How are you going to protect yourself if you're not firearms educated? You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you going to protect yourself when it comes to, you know, people who don't have coming to your house? You know, you got your children, your wife in there. How do you plan on doing that? You know, it's because as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to our people, to have a firearm is not a good thing. You know, so I'm like, yo, get your firearms education up. Build the army. Teach them discipline. Make sure everybody's on point. We are the only group of people in this country that I'm paying attention to don't have an army. We don't have a group of people that when it goes down, we can make that phone call. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So it's pretty much that, you know, pay attention to what's going on, grow food. Like I said before, how can you grow food with no land? People got wads of money with no house, with no land. You walking around, you on Instagram or whatever, you showing all your cars, but you don't have land. You don't have nowhere to grow. You need agriculture. You know, there's a lot of people talking about within our nation, a gods and earths. I'm the god. I'm the queen. How are you the god and the queen and you can't grow food? That's in the 12 Jews. How can you grow? You can't grow food. You know, you going to the supermarket. I'm going to the supermarket now, but best believe I have a farm growing. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's definitely a blueprint. And we're just making sure that people are paying attention. Because I don't know what are y'all doing? Like,
Right.
What are you really focusing on? Everybody can't wait to see the next show. What is it, Power or EMF? I've never saw it yet.
Right.
There's a time for that. I'm gonna see that. Not right now. Are you serious? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? That's my verse was like, what are you doing? These are the things you need to be doing. I left things out because my verse would probably be 80 bars, but you know what I mean? Like, for real, bro.
And I mean, that was the title, right? No captions, meaning, you know, it's a nod to social media. If you see an image or a video and it says no captions, it means I don't really got to say nothing else here, you know? And that's kind of how we felt ending it off, where it's like, yo, no captions. And that's why I ended my verse like that, because it was more about, yo, we're going to basically transparent, you know, just transparent, not just paint a blueprint and say, here's for you, but this is what we're doing. Like, real, this is what we're doing. This is what we're moving towards. We don't got all the pieces either, but these are the pieces we figured out so far, you know?
Yeah. What translates so beautifully, you know, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but what's really deeply communicated, listening to the whole record, is the sense of urgency. You know, there's a real sense of urgency that's steeped in the joints, you know. I mean, that's what I got from it.
I guess it's from the time we're in, right? Like, the urgency from my heart comes from, yo, if you have lived these last 2.5 years in the world and you didn't invest in yourself and empower yourself during that time in any type of way and learn more things about you and just your capacity and just really invest in yourself with information, then I'm like, what are you really doing? Like, oh, you didn't see, like, you really think it's a game out here? Like, we've been shown like so many different things that literally were steps away from our entire livelihoods changing. So it's like, when you see that, you know, it's like you got to pay more attention and say, okay, how do I prepare myself for that? Like, say there is a time where there's, you know, stores are closed for a month and you can't go to the supermarket. Like, what's the other option? You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Like, it's also in the mindset of the urgency of not just the worst case scenario either. It's more get ready, be ready so you don't have to get ready. Stay ready. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Make this a lifestyle. Don't just look at it right now. Make it a lifestyle. When you're out and about and you're shopping, always think non-perishable items. Let me make sure I have cans and water and da-da-da. And it's not about us going with a big dump truck and getting it all at once. This is a lifestyle. We're always thinking like that.
That's right.
You know, and it's
exactly
across the board, even with just how you move, what you're learning, what's important. Pick and choose your battles of what you even intake. Are you going to sit around and do that and just enjoy that when you know that you could be sitting around doing this and empowering yourself? And some people are not on that. I get it. But that's why I mentioned there's different vibrations, there's different frequencies, and we understand that. And that's where that compassion comes from too. It's an empathetic lens, you know. We're speaking to ourselves too, literally. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Nice.
Yeah, and that sense of urgency definitely came within the last few years, you know, like with all of this pandemic and you know, all of this stuff being thrown at us. I'm starting to see like, oh man, hold on. Take your money out the bank. People are like, what? Take your money out the bank. Put it into something else. Silver, gold, that's God's currency. That ain't going nowhere. Put it in there. If you paying attention right now, gold and silver is going up. Meaning, had you took your savings and put it in gold and silver, your money would have went up. It's not going up in the bank. Matter of fact, they talking about cyber attack. If that happened, I'm going into the safe. I got gold and silver. You gonna go with your ATM card denied. Yeah. You can't eat, you can't pay a bill, you can't put gas in your car. You got to pay attention to what's going on here. So these are the moves that we make. And I've started seeing things with the financial thing. And then I'm seeing things with crime. I'm like, okay, get the strap, get training, get some rounds, get more rounds, buy more bullets. Every time you go to the store, get water. You pass by the gun store, get a couple boxes of bullets. Stop playing. This is serious. This is not, I'm not bowling. I'm trying to make sure we good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Grab a couple cans, rotate your food. You know what I'm saying? Put a stash of water that you don't touch. That's when shit hit the fan, we got water. Hundreds of gallons. $200, you can get 200 gallons of water. That water could be used to drink, could be used to barter with. You never know. You know what I'm saying? So that's how we moving. And I just feel that 2.5 year time taught us. Like, if you didn't see it, I'm like, I have the same resources. We looking at TV, we looking at social media, it's happening to everybody. How come you don't feel that these are the things you need to do? You know, and that's why we dipped out of the city, copped the crib, we down in Georgia, we got land, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it made us move. This was very urgent. Yeah. This was also, the timing was magnificent, if you ask me.
I couldn't agree with you more.
You know what I'm saying?
It's science. I hate it when they low vibrate. They lie bait, sleepwalking, don't condone them ways. These the days you remember how we go them snakes. I'm down to 7 heads, guard lock and loaded the gates. It's all safe, how we rolling by the code of the greats.
Step into your greatness, live a life of purpose, stay focused, society's curses come in a surplus, live full and die empty, messages are sent to me, to carry to the masses, deliveries are massive, heavy, holding the weight steady, student of the master teacher, I hope you're ready to...
Let's pivot y'all real quick and let's talk about the fun stuff as far as the creativity. You know, you all were just giving some having an NPC conversation, you know, before we got going. So can we talk about the creative process? How would you describe that process, whether individually or collaboratively?
Yeah, it's changed over years. You know, I feel like in the beginning, like young in the game, creating, especially as Science of Life, rest in power, Inspector Willoughby, Ra's son. Our creative process was definitely about being together, in a room together, vibing together, writing. And I would say it's safe to say most of our music was done in that session. Like, we didn't like go home and write, and it was like, nah, we're in the session, we're writing, we're laying the joint down, and it's getting done today in the session. And we leave with a version of the song. So I felt like that kind of sharpened us to a level of being able to like get things done quickly. And it was funny when I think back, we didn't talk about the music a lot. And I think it was more, we spent so much time together. We knew each other's frequencies and perspectives, etc. We knew each other so well. All we needed was a title or a line or an idea or a theme. Go in our corners and we come back to it. I'll say this, fast forward to today, creating Change Your Views. you know, we haven't lived this close to each other in over a decade.
Wow.
But we recorded that entire project separately. It was because I equate it to, we got so good at recording ourselves in our home studios separately that it sound better to do it like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Honestly.
We did do it together, and we tried a couple sessions, and it was like, you know what? Let's just record. It's funny because I feel like it's a little introverted, like when you think about it, but it's like, it's also like, you know what? Let's not jeopardize the sound and get it to feel how we want it to feel and go with what works. And that's what we did. So with this creative vibe, it was more like, yo, the beats I did 3 tracks, Invisible Hands produced 4. And then I guess in between the interludes, we shared that too. But it was more about him setting off. So if he set it off on the album, it was over one of my tracks. If I set it off, it was his. And a lot of that came from us sending each other beats and setting the song off, and then boom, sending it back, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel
definitely synergistic, like it's cohesive. You know what I'm saying? That's interesting. You know, describing the process.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And I let ID, man, like you build to it too, because that's just my take. It's like we got real good at just like recording ourselves, literally. No other. Yeah, just press and record, and
exactly. So I would say, as far as this particular project, like JR was saying, he was in his studio. I'm in my studio. I made most of the tracks on Ableton Live. JR made most of the tracks on the MPC.
Yeah.
And you know, like, I didn't truly tell him, yo, let's make this vibe. Or, you know, he just went into his zone. I went into my zone, and together the beats went so well. You have people asking, ID, did you do the whole project? And I'm like, that's crazy that you thought that some of JR's beats, and he's not, to me, as far as I'm concerned, he's not the beat guy. He can do beats. He taught me how to make beats. And I ran with it, you know what I'm saying? Because he had to do a lot of other stuff when it came to Science of Life, because we had no management. He booked all the shows. We are the manager. We are the bookie. We are everybody. You know what I'm saying? We're the art department, beat department, everything.
In-house.
You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, it's like I was in my zone. I was sending the beat. I'm like, yo, that's crazy. All right, I'm writing. He'll send me some. I'm like, oh yeah, that's crazy. I'm writing to that. And together, it just created this amazing project. But to get to that Jazz as a Weapon, that was a beat that was almost not on there. He sent that beat to somebody. And I heard that in the folder, like, whoa, let me get that back. I'm writing a verse to this quick before anybody knew. I sent it to JR, like, yo, nah, we got to use this.
Wow.
And it seems like, as far as I'm concerned, that's one of my favorites, but it seems like that's the one, other than No Captions, that's hitting. And that one was almost not on the project. So JR, before you send the beat out, make sure we listen to it together. We get first dibs, bro.
No doubt.
That's funny. But speaking of beats, and I would beg to differ, ID. You know, Si, you got some joints. You know, you are the beat guy. I would say.
Yeah, he's the beat guy. Like I said, he taught me. But when I think of our long discography, you don't see JR on the beats. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was like
I wasn't spending most of the time producing, because ID just caught on so quickly. It was like, you do that. You do that. And then during the journey, just meeting so many brilliant producers, you know what I'm saying? And getting to work with a lot of beat makers and producers who are just top tier. And it was like, I'm good. You know, and for me, a lot of times it was a creative outlet when I wasn't writing or creating in that way. But now it's more moved to the forefront of, I'm producing for us and other people. And
Nice.
Yeah, nah, he's dope. He's definitely one of the dopest to me. You know what I'm saying? And he's not on it. So imagine not being on it like that, and then when you touch the MPC or whatever, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I took years off. As soon as I turned that on, magic.
Wow.
That's what JR does.
So can we talk about like your favorite genres, like maybe your go-tos? You know, are there jazz, jazz records or just whatever the case? Because the vibration for Change Your Views, don't want to describe it as jazzy, but that element, that spirit is there. There's some other sounds y'all use is really, really interesting.
Like space jazz.
Space jazz, okay. Galactic jazz.
So yeah,
there we go.
I'm just empowered to Ross G. He created what's called the African Space Program. That was his move, right? And they, I met Ross G like 20 years ago now, but I remember when he came out with that jokingly on the phone. I'm like, yo, Ross, man, how I get down with the African Space Program? He laughed and said, bro, you created it. And I was like, wow, and it was like a gut punch. And I knew what he meant when he said that. It was more like, yo, basically he was saying what y'all were doing in the 90s with Science of Life was very future, very galactic, very, the sounds you were using, the terminology you were putting in the songs, the approach, and it was really speaking to just who we were. You know what I'm saying? We were really reading about the stars and beyond, and so it's like, yeah, we were really into that, the sun, moon, and the stars, and the galaxies and the universe, and so it just spoke directly to the music. But I feel like that's put into this, but just in a more masterful way, a more intentional way. One of our mentors told us many years ago, like, yo, I love what y'all are doing and using all these, knowledge and self terms in the music, and that's so dope, right? But that's speaking to the choir and preaching to the choir. Y'all keep doing that for 10 years straight. Your shows will be full of people who don't need that information because they know it already. And they're all attracted to the lingo and the terms you're using. How about putting that energy into the intentions of the music and try your best to reach and communicate with the people who actually need to hear this.
That's right.
Themselves, you know what I'm saying? And that became just our formula. It's like, yeah, we're definitely gonna let you know that, there's some substance and integrity laced in these joints, but then also there's charisma, there's beats, there's vibe, there's other things that kind of give it to you in a way where it's like, yo, even if I don't know all that they're talking about, I caught some of this because they're just delivering it and giving me so many articulations of this concept. I grabbed something, and yeah, this what this means for me. And that's all we want. We want you to take the best part that resonates with you and build off of that. If we can inspire people like that, we feel great about what we're doing.
Very well said.
Negativity sells while positivity dwells in the minds of some of the illest lyricists.
True righteousness is pristine within a state of darkness.
Underground starving artists hitting the mark. Negativity sells while positivity dwells in the minds of some of the illest lyricists.
True righteousness is pristine within a state of darkness.
Check it out. Underground starving artists hitting the mark.
And he cries out, respect the pioneers. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Took nearly 30 years to get it to where it is. That's why we dedicate our life to this. And we feel so blessed to be writing this.
What are the ingredients you'd say, or the ingredients that you'd identify, right, in terms of lyrical content that really make a dope record?
Okay. With the concept that I feel that, like when I was saying before, everybody that has a platform needs to use their platform wisely. As far as that goes, because I can, if we go back, there was a lot of party and bullshit going on, and that's not the concept. So I kind of feel as long as you're hip hopping, putting some type of information, no one can really tell you how to do it, but figure out a way to make sure you have a message in every song. Why waste a song? Especially now. That's why I'm saying, like, the times are different. Why waste a record on, you know, talking about your chain and your watch and your car? We see cars and watches every day and stuff like that. Money, women, like, are you serious? Why would you waste that beat? You know what I'm saying? So the formula I would say is dope beats, you know, whatever your genres, drill, trap, reggae, whatever you gonna do, dope beats. Make sure the beats resonate. Once the beats is dope, make sure you have some type of substance to what you're saying. You know, this is art that you listen to. So paint the picture so people can see where you're coming from, you know? And at the same time, let the artwork, the title, and everything come together to make the whole meal. You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much it. As long as you're following that, it should be a solid project. It doesn't matter what your sound is.
We touched on this briefly, but for the viewers, for the audience, I really want them to be very clear as far as who you guys are. And can we talk about the origin of SCIENZ of Life, as far as the name of the group, the meaning of the group? It could be however you want to answer, metaphysical or literal, whatever the case is, but just so that the people know exactly who you are.
All right. JR, I'll let you set that off.
Yeah. Well, SCIENZ of Life, Invisible Hands and I are brothers, physically, literally. Originally from the South Bronx, also grew up in Far Rock, Queens. And we migrated to Jersey, and we met Inspector Willoughby in Central New Jersey. And basically, at this moment, we weren't necessarily SCIENZ of Life yet. You know, there was some iterations before that. There was God Body Soldiers. There was God Body Science. And SCIENZ of Life comes from the lessons, inspired by the lessons. But even beyond that, it was and is our description of being universal. You know, speaking this universal message. Everyone is trying to, or moving towards figuring out the science of life, right? How to live, how to navigate things, how to move, how to communicate, how to connect, etc. And these are things that we were exploring in real time. So the name fit. The name was something that we felt had a cultural tone to it, but also have a very universal tone to it, where the world could relate to it, you know, and that was on a foundation. And I feel like that's what, you know, gravitated us to really rocking with that name. And just really, you know, for instance, the name God Body Science, right? To have that name, it's like someone would literally put you in a box from far away and think they know everything about you and all you're going to say. But you say SCIENZ of Life, they can't necessarily put you in that same box because it expands out of that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's my take on it in terms of just the origin and, you know, the thought process behind the name and the concept.
Yeah, I mean, not too much more to say, but I would say SCIENZ of Life, unlike other names of different artists and different groups, this is not just a rap group. This is not just hip hop group. This is a movement, you know? SCIENZ of Life, like JR just said, it's something that we all are experiencing, the science of life, like how to move. Like everyone didn't eat the way you ate when you first were here. Eventually you started becoming conscious. Oh, I can't eat pork. Pork has that, you know, stay away from beef, you know, my blood pressure. That's the science of life, as well as finances and everything else. So, you know, everything, spirituality, it's the science of life is one gigantic ball of just life in which everybody's trying to put the pieces to the puzzle together to make it work for them. A lot of this information wasn't laid out for us. So, we steady digging, and as we find it, there's another song. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? So that's what the Science of Life is. It's a movement. It's not just a group, two dudes rapping. Nah, man, this is a whole movement.
Nice, nicely said. Nice. Listen, I just want to give thanks to you brothers for your time. Also want you to let the people know where they can find you so you can be found. You know what I'm saying? So if you could just let us know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say directly, we're both pretty accessible right on IG at Science of Life. That's a new handle that we've been channeling people there just to kind of build that science community of old listeners and supporters from around the world, all the way to people who are just finding out now. And then individually, I'm John Robinson Music on IG, and then johnrobinsonmusic.com. And
yeah, and I'm on IG individually as Invisible Hands, INVIZIBLEHANDZ. Same thing for Twitter.
Right. All right. Again, gratitude. Thank you. John, good to see you, brother. ID, good to meet you, brother. Maybe sometime we can be in a physical space together.
Exactly.
And really chop it up.
Indeed.
And I lastly gotta say, of course, shout out to Visual Caffeine.
That's right.
Peds, send one. It's important to recognize that we've been connected to Send One for over a quarter century now. You know what I'm saying? And we actually drew our first logo, as is here on the shirt.
There we go.
25-year anniversary.
Classic.
Yeah, so we're celebrating 25 years, and it's a powerful connection. And like WINDZ said, it's a movement, but even more so, it's network, it's connectivity. We feel like we got fam all over the world. Real talk.
Most definitely. Yeah, me and P go back too.
Word.
Definitely go back too, for sure. All right, brothers. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a wonderful day tomorrow. Right,
yes, sir.
Keep the movement going for sure.
Absolutely, brother.
Peace, bro.
All right, peace.
Peace.